staff reports under E, under the attorney's report. I forgot that. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I have one, on the recommendation, direction to staff in the packet, there's a date correction. It's, not 9, or it's, yeah, not 9, it's August 6th, 2018. For the appointment of town administrator, the recommendation direction to staff was given to us August 6th. So it's just in the packet.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular town council meeting minutes of September 5th, 2018.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any changes?
This council has agreed on by vote for abbreviated minutes and removing public submissions and council submissions from the minutes. This council also agreed by vote to keep the public submissions and council submissions in a folder at Town Hall to be released to the public when and if requested. The minutes, these minutes, the 9/5/2018, have specific details written in and specific details left out. With this much detail and verbiage, an opinion is created rather than a factual accounting. The combination of all these facts limits fair representation of the people who are putting their faith in us to represent them so that they can have the ultimate power, which is to govern themselves through us. And so we should go back to an abbreviated minutes, like we suggested.
No changes?
We're still working on the minutes.
Yeah.
I made a mistake at the last meeting when, on page 2, right in the middle, above the word roll call vote, I said this is the 6th budget. Actually, this is the 5th. I couldn't count that high last night. And I'll leave it there. There's another thing, but forget it. It wasn't important.
Anything else?
Anything
All
else?
right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried 4-1. All right, we'll move on to the attorney's report.
No report.
Okay, we'll move on to staff reports. Doug, you got anything for staff?
You may have noticed that we've been doing some paving in the town. We've finished Smith Lane, which was paid for by the citizens of Smith Lane. We've repaired the depression in Marie Street. We've repaired the depression in Corey Road near State Road 514, and we repaired the east side intersection of Hall Road and Corey Road. This has all been done in the last week. Unfortunately, Smith Road, I just took a look at it this evening, and someone has been down there doing burnouts and has damaged the road already, which is, with the limited amount of funds that the town has had, and the citizens on Smith Road have been trying since 2007, I believe, to get that road paved at their expense. This is just absolutely flabbergasting as far as I'm concerned, why someone in the town would want to do that. I've contacted the contractor, and he'll be out there tomorrow morning to repair it, but nevertheless, we're trying to improve our town, if not destroy it.
That's okay.
Same thing happened quarter. You got it all fixed, and next thing you know, the next 2 days. Okay, thanks.
May I comment on paving, while we're talking about a paving thing? I've been asked by the owner of this storage facility, just beyond us here, at 1450 West Railroad Avenue. The road is in very, very bad repair between here and there, and it's going to get a whole lot worse. I have mentioned over the last couple of years, once or twice, that it needs to be fixed. knowing that we're going to have some impending personnel changes, I'll bring it to council to, let the council decide whether to fix the road now or later and more expensive.
We're aware of the potholes in the material over here. We're short of people. We'll be interviewing a number of individuals tomorrow to see if we can bolster our public works staff and get back on track with roads and with our ditches as well.
I go through that probably 4 or 5 times a week, and it's tough on my truck.
Right. The ditcher machine should be in the first week or two of October. Then we'll have a firm date yet, but that will allow us to move forward on it. That's road needs a little bit of touch-up with which the contractor said he would take care of. We ordered the materials for all roads from Flashy going to the west, and that should be in about 2 weeks, and that's probably the schedule to start to complete.
I don't think we're going to do any ditching out here.
There's a number of areas in the town that ditches do need attention. With the same machine that was demonstrated, which, by the way, that's still staying dry and clear.
Another thing on what you just brought up, we had 20 applicants for jobs here, and I know some have been interviewed by the Director of Public Works. Have any been hired?
He's interviewing tomorrow. He has a full schedule of interviewing people tomorrow.
Because right now it's just him and John, it's the Public Works Department. Oh, and Felix.
And Felix. Felix stays on in the
He stays on the road. He stays out there working.
in the ditch cleaner most of the time.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is, turning my resignation effective at the close of business November 8th. And I want to thank the town for allowing me this opportunity and its citizens. It's been an interesting experience, to say the least.
It's been a good experience for us.
It has been a good experience, probably the best job I've had, certainly one of the more challenging.
Since you last worked for yourself?
Sir?
Since you last worked for yourself?
Oh, that was a while.
In North Georgia?
I only had one boss there,
You
my
were-
wife.
Debbie, you got anything?
Only to say that the G2 report is due this Friday for those that are filing campaign finance reports. That's all.
We'll move on to public comments. Stu Borton, you can do it now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I have a little package that I'd like to pass out to everyone. Maybe all of it. Over the last, what's that?
Do you need one of those back?
No, go ahead, and if there's one left, I'll take it back, but no. I'll let you guys get those first, and then I'll start. I know we only have 3 minutes, sorry, I needed one more, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, well, thank you for this opportunity to address you early in the meeting. I have, over the last 10 years, been trying to acquire property on the west side of the US 1 in Malabar, right just south of Yellow Dog Cafe. Now, back in 2000, I think the year was 2000, I bought the Caligee property, which is kitty corner across from Yellow Dog Cafe. That property gave me 5 lots on the river across the street. Yellow Dog, the warehouse itself was zoned commercial. So when I'm looking at the property and buying the property, I think I'm buying commercial property. Fast forward to today, I'm trying to apply for a permit to build on that property across the street. I find out, a few weeks or a few months back, that it's zoned coastal preserve, C2E. Well, I need to get it changed to come back to commercial like it should have been all along as far as I was understanding. But I'm not blaming anybody, it's my fault because I didn't look at the detail of the property, but usually when you buy a property, it is all zoned the same. I'm seeing commercial on one side of the road, thinking it's gonna be the same on the other side. It's my fault, but what I'm asking the council to do is to try to rectify it. And what we want to build is, and I gave council a picture, it's a little inn, and it'd be a 6 to 10 room or 6 to 12 room inn is what we're looking at, probably more on the lower side of the number of rooms. Basically a place for people who are having weddings at the restaurant, to be able to stay on property, so they don't have to drive after a wedding, for bride and grooms and their parties. I've enclosed for the council also a survey. This is a shrunken part of the survey. The other A5 or A8 paper, 11 by 17 paper, is a blow-up of the actual portion on the river. And what the coastal preserve does is it just basically takes people's rights to build on their property away. And I'm not the only one in Malabar that has this problem. There's other people in Malabar who pay taxes on their property on the river that are on US 1, which they should be able to, and I think even across from like Camelot, there's property there. There used to be restaurants on the river back in before I was around here. But the history, there used to be the Malabar boat that came in and there was a structure there. So there used to be structure on the water. DOT come along when they widened the road, took a lot of everybody's property away. Well, just recently, they offered to sell me back a 5,000 square foot piece of the property they originally took. And a property that deed that they sold it to me is in your packet. So that gave us now a 20,000 square foot piece of property. So that property's definitely big enough to build on. And it's not going to be without issues. We still got to go to DEP, St. John's Water District Management. The DEP, St. John's, there's a whole list of people we got to go through to get permits and waivers, and even DOT is going to have to give us waivers. They actually gave us a permit for a driveway already. It was 2 years ago, so I just got a letter the other day that they said I had to reapply again because I didn't put it in. I didn't put it in because I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to build down there once I get the driveway. So reapplying, they assured me reapplying is not going to be an issue. Just they had to revoke the permit because I hadn't put it in yet. So what I'd like council to do is somehow reevaluate your coastal preserve and give people who own the property a right to do something with their property. It doesn't mean just because you change it from coastal preserve to commercial that you can automatically build something on it. We still got to go through all the other permits to make sure that what we're building is sound, legal, it's going to be of value to the community. It makes all the other rules still apply to us. It just gives us a chance to do something with it. Now, I don't know if you can add it to your current thing that you have going in. I know you've advertised it already. That would cause an expense to the town. I know the town has a limited budget. That's why this hasn't been, their zoning issues hasn't been corrected already. If you guys were willing to change your coastal preserve designations now, I would be willing to pay for the cost of advertising to re-advertise what you've already advertised. I know I've got into this a little later. I should have jumped on this 6 months ago when you guys were doing all this. I didn't know you were doing it. It's my fault. I live in the town. I should pay attention to what's happening in my town. I'm probably like a lot of other people here that's maybe here for the first time in a long time. Or do all you people show up every month? There's 4 people that show up every month, 4 to 6. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm new here too. So I should be paying attention to more what's going on in the town, but I know I'm probably right over my time. Thank you, half of the time. If you guys can help me in any way, I don't know what you can do legally, what you can't do. I don't want to get anybody in trouble with that. If you can help me out in some way, and I pay the cost of advertising or re-advertising, whatever you need to do, this would expedite the, yes, do I have any questions?
I spoke to you earlier about this, and your assumption that the property was all zoned the same as where the Yellow Dog Cafe itself. But what you're talking about now is 5 additional independent pieces of property, is that correct?
No, I don't know the number, I know there's other properties along there, I've looked, there's other properties along there.
Properties that you own,
No,
but they're all individual, they're not all the same property, so they would have to be.
no, they're all the same property now, I've actually put them all together and it's one property address
At
now.
the time of the purchase, they were not.
There was 5, it was the same as the property across the street, it was just one property. At the time of the purchase, it's all one property, and since then, I bought a piece from a guy in Palm Bay, that was in, that zone, that lived in, not lived in Palm Bay, but he owned a Palm Bay property, that was attached to this piece of property, so I bought that property, which was between Yellow Dog and the warehouse property, then it made it contiguous. Then after that, I bought a piece from DOT to make it the
I
total.
just want to be sure that we include everything that you need
Right.
in what action is
Yeah,
taken.
it's, I own all the way down 48 foot north of Riverview Drive. Riverview Drive is kind of, goes right into the river. That's owned by the state, or the town of Mount Ira who owns that right away. But then 48 feet past that is the first property, that's a guy I bought the piece from Palm Bay from. If I can show you on this map.
It's okay.
Okay, so, but basically, Riverview Drive South would fix my immediate problem, but it really should be a problem of fixing it for everybody, because there's other people that's in the same boat as me, they got property that they can't even put a light in their house because it's so close to reserve. And there's
Go
a,
ahead. You're
Can I
done.
speak to this?
Yeah, you can.
I need to speak as a citizen.
So,
I need to speak as a citizen.
okay, hold on, let go. I'm very, Andrew first.
I had 2 questions. I think we might have talked about this earlier. The property we're talking about is immediately adjacent to the Yellow Dog Cafe?
yes, which
Okay.
is commercial.
All right, south. And you own the property across US 1?
Yes,
So any of this construction is not going to block somebody else's
no,
majestic Indian River view, just don't
No.
go smell it.
no.
Okay, all right. That was all I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, the reviews will look this up in time. Who is under?
I'm speaking as a citizen of this issue. Grant Ball, 1190 US 1.
Name and address, please.
Grant Ball, 1190 US 1. This affects a lot of people. And the reason I have to come off of the DLs and talk to you about it is because I'm affected exactly like Stuart is. The town came up with coastal preservation many years ago. I don't know how long.
1980.
Okay. What that has meant, that means anybody that owns property to the east of US 1 has been paying taxes at an astronomical rate for a piece of property that the town says you can do nothing with. And I'll give you just a little sample because I worked mine up. My house at 1190 is on 1.4 acres or something like that. I pay $2,216 in taxes. That's $1,831 per acre. My riverfront lot is 0.06 acres. I pay $2,683 per acre at 161.66. So it's out of proportion, the tax base that they send us for a piece of property that's got a coastal preservation on it. So I would have to recuse myself if we had a vote on this because I'm as much affected as Stuart is. But this should be something that's brought up, and it should be something, there are a handful of us that own these pieces of property. Not like the state owns most of that road. Stuart was lucky he got the state to sell him back the property. But the state owned most of that. But some of that, at the time that they put the road in, they didn't want to buy all of it because it was owned by my father originally, and it was a bar and restaurant on the water. And the state did not want to buy the whole thing because they were buying it by the square foot or something. So they bought only what they need, leaving us a piece of property that later on Malabar made unbuildable. So I would be a proponent, just like Stewart is, to do away with coastal preservation zoning in land that's real property owned by citizens. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Mr. Mayor, can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this needs to be an agenda item for a future meeting. I've heard some good arguments, but obviously we haven't had a chance to research this issue, and I think it's something we should consider.
I think on it being an agenda item, we should get information on the legalities that we need to consider as well. You know, the lawyer.
I didn't understand.
Oh, I think that we need to know what is fully legal that we can do. I mean, I like the idea of having a planning and zoning, because then we have members from the community who we get their voices and opinions as well. And I just think that we also need legal opinion on how this affects us and everything too.
You just affect our work on future land use?
No.
Not at all.
Not what we're considering right now. Those changes we're considering right now are mandated changes by the state that we've been a little bit delinquent on, to say the least. So any individual request to rezone or have a comp plan amendment will have to be taken up after the state approves what we're sending up now. Because we're not in compliance, we can't address individual requests yet. So we have to wait for that, but, take one in. You can generally discuss later on the concept of CP, the coastal preservation zoning, but you can't act upon it until the state approves what we're trying to submit.
How far away from that, that approval
Are
are we?
we talking about?
2 weeks,
2 weeks.
October 1st.
I mean, October.
Because on the face of it, it seems like these people have been wrong here, and, I would be inclined, I think, give it time for any public comment to be made, pro or con.
You've been working on it since 2013.
What I'll interject here is that one way or another, it's going to require, if we're going to change that CP, a comp plan change, okay? Which is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world, because I'm not so sure about whether or not the coastal preservation element that we had was mandated or not. So we got to look at a lot of things, but we can start the process as soon as the state approves our updated comp plan.
So the state will approve it by October?
No.
No, it's submitted in October.
Yes.
Okay. So about how long do we have that we are waiting
They have 30 days to review it.
for? Okay.
By the end of November, we should be in a position to do something.
The second meeting in November.
At least start that process, yes.
All right, we move on to the public hearing.
I should have got one over. I'd like to make a statement before we start the public comments. Is that what you're saying?
Public hearing.
No.
This is on the millage.
The what?
Well, any public comments, could I make a statement before we start the public comments?
I just did. It was Stewart, go ahead.
Okay, all right, I know, any more. This is something that's bothered me the last couple of days, and I hate to talk about things like this because I like to get along with everybody I can. But I'd like to address a matter concerning some charges made against the town by a couple of men that I consider my friends. They charged that the town administrator, Doug Hoyt, has violated Florida statute 112.313, paragraph 6, or chapter 6. Misuse of public position by way of recommending to the town council that Matt Stinnett be appointed as his replacement. Forgive me for reading this because I just don't want to make any mistakes. Simply a recommendation, not as some claimed corrupt use of his official position. I read the statute, and it says, no public officer, employee of an agency or local government attorney shall corruptly use or attempt to use his or her official position, okay, or any property or resource within his trust, so on and so forth. I think most of us know what corrupt means, but I'm one of these people, I Google everything. So I Google corrupt, and the definition says having or showing a willingness to act dishonestly in return for money or personal gain. I don't believe Doug Hoyt has done any of this by way of this recommendation. I worry about the motivation of people making these charges. I think our town administrator simply recommended who he sees as a fitting replacement for himself, and that no monetary or personal gain was made by such a recommendation. I just wanted to put that forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said.
All right, we'll move on to our first public hearing, adopt millage ordinance 2018-04. Please read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, adopting the millage rate of 2.1582 for the levy of ad valorem tax within the Town of Malabar for the period from October 1, 2018 through and including September 30th, 2019, providing for repeal and providing for an effective date.
We'll open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Okay. Close the public hearing and bring it to the council. I entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2018-04.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I just, same as before, have concerns regarding visibility and specific public, what the Public Works is doing, and I brought it up during workshop too, so.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Okay, I have concerns regarding visibility, specifically Public Works, and I brought that up at the workshop and before, so I'm just stating it again.
All right, any other?
We're referring to 21582.
Right.
Comparing it to the rollback rate of this past year. What was the actual rate prior to the rollback? What did we set it a year ago?
It was 2.09 something.
2.0906.
2.0906, 2.15. So we're 0.06 of a mil.
Right.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Not much.
No further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Mahoney.
Nay.
Councilmember Rivet.
Aye.
Councilmember Corn.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-1.
Thank you. We'll move on to adopt budget ordinance 2018-05. Please read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, adopting the budget of $1,908,273 for the Town of Malabar for the period of October 1, 2018 through and including September 30th, 2019, providing for repeal, providing for an effective date.
We'll open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak?
Brian Dale, 2700 Smith Lane. I'd just like to thank staff and council for working so hard on the budget, and just something that does need to be brought to light. Although there was a minor tax increase, we still, the bottom line is $70,000 less for the town to provide the same services. I'm just bringing that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Anyone else from the public? Close the public hearing and bring it to council. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. And I'll second.
Any discussion?
The same.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Mahoney.
Nay.
Councilmember Rivet.
Aye.
Councilmember Corn.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-1.
Thank you.
I need to say something.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, but we had, how many, 4 workshops? We all sat here, worked on this. I didn't hear any major complaints. I certainly didn't hear any solutions. And at the last meeting, we went around the table and asked, can we do this? Are we all right with this? And to my knowledge, everybody said yes. Then it comes to a vote and you say no. And I think it's political grandstanding. I'm sorry, I feel that way. The time to resolve this would have been in the workshop, not here when we're taking the vote.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, I would like to state that during the workshop, I was told, when I brought it up for transparency, the mayor clapped and said there is no talk of this at this meeting. This is off topic.
No,
Didn't
I
you say
said-
that?
I said, stay on the topic of budget.
And I said the budget,
Now, transparency is not budget.
I said that it does have to do with the budget, because bringing things transparent is more important to the most of the citizens, and that is something that needs to be considered during the budget. And I brought it up, and I was told that I wasn't allowed to talk about it, so I went home and told my husband, and I just said, it's not exactly the way I would spend my money. And that wasn't even, and he said, well, that's, you have to act like it is your money. And then at the last meeting, the minutes didn't even reflect me making those statements. It's like my Mahoney is out of the minutes, and that's why I said that it has nothing to do with politics. It happens to be that we went through the budget very time consuming, and it was well written, but it wasn't like we could pick up and spend the money the way we chose to. We went line by line with what was given to us from staff. It was not that, like when I brought up bringing things to the public, I was asked not to speak at the workshop, and I didn't speak anymore. And that's where I was that's where I even went to those men that came Gilmore and Weir Street, and this is brand new building construction, and we have a driveway with a very nice culvert, and we have telephone poles coming out both sides of it. And that's happening today with our tax dollars and our people that are taking the time to go out and approve these, you know, the
Does that have
administrator.
anything to do with the budget?
No.
I mean, I've been out to Gilmore Street too and looked at that, and those poles were there long before that driveway was put in. I have a comment on the budget though, Mayor. May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I missed one of the budget workshop meetings, but other than that, I've been involved in there for 5 years. And I was an observer and a couple of other years at budget workshops. This year, well, the ad valorem tax went up a tad, 0.06 of a mil. The actual budget went down from, what was it last year? Considerably more than this year. So we've got less taxable property this year, or less taxable property value, but we will still collect and spend less money than we did last year. And if you listen to me carefully, that should not be our goal. Our goal should be to provide the services to the people of this town, be they the infrastructure, which includes both roads and water management, not just stormwater, but water management, period. And I have talked with people in the water management business throughout the state on this thing, and we're doing better than has ever been done in this town. We've had problems with water management since 1930, and we're in better shape right now than we've ever been. And we've got a better plan now than we have ever had. We know where we're going with this program. My compliments to the town administrator and to the town engineer. But we've finally gotten around to having a plan. I mean, this was an election issue in 1983. I can't go back before 83 to find what election issues were, but I do know that there was flooding issues here in 1928. And there are pictures in the cabinet over there to prove that. Now, my point is, we've done a remarkable job of giving to the people of Malabar service for much less than they could get at Palm Bay or anywhere else. I mean, I've been involved, I've never been to a budget workshop meeting when I couldn't say what I wanted to say, and I don't think any others here would say that same thing. Is there another council member who would say that they were told to shut up?
Just say.
I would never have been.
I was asked not to bring up
You
transparency.
were told to
in
shut
a
up,
budget.
I wouldn't have stood up with that. And I'm just wondering if you were wanting to talk about the subject that we were discussing at the time. I don't remember.
We
the
were
issue.
talking about public works.
Order, folks, you know, we're getting way off topic.
Yeah, the point is, we've got a good budget, we've got a conservative budget, which is, actually, I think we ought to be, spending more money than we are, quite frankly.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Doug.
Just one other comment. If you take a look at the audited figures, and I've talked to Council about this many times, from 2006 to 2016, our revenue stream decreased over that time period by about 100,000. And if we've done nothing more than keep up with inflation, in 2016, our budget should have been, revenue stream should have been $2,150,000. So we're not keeping up with
That's correct.
inflation, and I, as town administrator for not much longer, I'm still concerned about that trend of what's going on in the town.
I'd like to say something. It's not really the amount of money, it's the management of the money. There were quite a few culverts that I had a list, and we got 2 of those culverts completed. And I had to do a public records request in December, and I found out how many public works people we had, and it was a nice 5 people. And I asked why things aren't being done in January and in February, and then we find out that there was only 2 employees. Well, we should have known about that, and we should have jobbed out those things, that we should have kept up with the maintaining of our ditches. And that's just what we should have been doing.
This is not,
It's
this has nothing to do with the budget.
All right, we're gonna move on. We move on to appointment of the next town administrator.
We did. Yeah.
We did, okay.
Sorry. Holly, please come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Holly Yolis, I live at 2365 Quarry Road, Malabar, Florida. And I just wanted to ask the council to please, the last time we were interviewing for people for a town administrator position, we had a committee formed. I only know one person's name off the top of my head. I remember when Patty Foster was involved in that selection committee. And I think it would be a very good business practice if we interview people who are potential candidates. Even if you're going to consider somebody in-house, you should still compare with the public so that it's an open opportunity and you get the most qualified candidates. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Debbie, I have a question. When did the resumes go to council at the workshop? Just
It was August 6th.
August. Okay, I'm gonna take a page out of the Warren County Commissioners and School Board. I'll entertain a motion to accept Doug's recommendation.
I will move to accept Mr. White's recommendation to appointment of Mr. Smith as the new town administrator.
I'll second.
Okay,
I'd like
any
to comment on
discussion? Any discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We've got an opportunity to do an internal promotion, promote from within. That gives us the ability to hit the ground running with the new administrator. Mr. Smith has been working side by side with Mr. Boyd the last several months. He has learned the job. He has developed an array of contacts, a network of contacts outside of town. He's already been working many of the issues. And to be absolutely frank, I think the salary is a tremendous bargain. In a town that's strapped for money, as we always are, we have an opportunity to get a very good person at a very good price for the town. I think it would be, I don't think it would be serving the interests of our residents to pass up that on.
Any other discussion?
I will read from a letter that I published,
Go ahead.
and a response to a letter someone wrote me. I was not involved in the selection of our first town administrator. I was an interested observer in the selection of Mr. Booth, our second town administrator. I was very much involved in the selection process leading to the choice of Ms. Wilbex-Free. She was not my first choice, but I was quite familiar with her work as a Broward County Sheriff Deputy, registered nurse, as well as city manager in various South Florida cities, from Oakland Park to Golden Beach. My brother was very active in Broward County and knew her well, and he did most of that research for me. I do my homework. For the selection of Mr. White, I was familiar with him for a few years prior to his application for this job and selection. I researched his business development history in North Georgia and the Lake Lanier and Gainesville, Georgia areas. We found him a whole lot more successful than even I would want to be. It's too much work, doesn't it, to be that successful? Anyhow, Malabar is a small town with a limited budget. We have a town administrator, not a town manager. We sitting here, elected by the people, are the managers. And the administrator does that. It administers what we direct to be done. He helps us with meeting preparations. He points out to us things that need to be addressed. But we are the decision makers of the management of the town. Now, I will say that under the Town of Malabar Town Administrator Special Duties and Responsibilities, he is an employee of the council and is to direct the supervision and administration of all town offices, departments, agencies of the town under legislative direction of the town council. No. All except the town clerk and her chain of command, or his, if it happens to be a he at the time. There are two separate employees of this council, the town clerk treasurer and the town administrator, and each of them have their department heads and employees, etc. To make plans for all meetings of the town council, preparation of an agenda in conjunction with the town clerk's office and the chairman of the council. Those are the ways I would change that first two paragraphs in the duties. But I have researched this, I talked, and I think Danny knows this, but he may not, and he may have done the same as I did. When we were at the League of Cities Convention down in Hollywood in August, I talked to everybody I could find that would listen to me about we're looking for a new town administrator. We don't have a good reputation. If you remember 3 years ago, we hired Deb Kruger. She kept the job for what? 1 day, 2 days?
She didn't.
Yeah, because she took one look at some of the noisemakers, what
Didn't find
one of the leaders of the League of Cities calls cave people, citizens against virtually everything, and she wasn't going to put up with that nonsense. Nor will any other experienced town manager, city manager, or administrator. I couldn't find anybody that would be willing to even interview for this job. And I talked to an awful lot of people. Matt is very much aware of what's going on here. And I have personally asked him, can you deal with the cavemen? Citizens against virtually everything, because we have more than our share of them. Now, I've also researched his history. Been a U.S. Army military policeman. He's now a squad leader in the U.S. Army Reserves. He has a bachelor's degree and is currently, and this is one of the things I've always been told that we needed for a city manager or town administrator, is for that person to have a master's degree in public administration. Bonnie had one. Matt is involved in that, enrolled in that program at FIT and has been for a while. He's en route to getting that master's degree right now. So that's a qualification that I would put on a position to either have the degree or be working on it, and he is. So for that reason, I seconded the motion.
Okay. Doug Hoyt well knows that when we sat as council, that my personal views weren't with the way that he got his position. And I've worked with Doug Hoyt since that time. I've got to know him as a friend, and I've got to feel that he put one hell of an effort into his job as town administrator. One hell of an issue. I don't want it to seem like it's a good old boy club, and Mr. Hoyt put Matt Stein up for this job. Stennett, sorry. And then we're just gonna put Matt Stennett in because it's a good old boy, and he got put in by the way I didn't care for it, but I voted. And I don't want to see that happen. I look at Matt's credentials from the pile of credentials we have gotten. You already described all of them, so I don't have to go down the list again. I'm ex-military, and I put a high degree of faith in somebody that gets into the military and stays in for a career. How many years do you have now?
Over 12 years now.
Over 12 years. And so you've made it into leadership, and you're in a leadership position. Well, that's not much difference. I would imagine that your squad is larger than the leadership position you're going to have here. And I also imagine it is much more demanding since I went through that. So as much as I would like to see a larger sampling, I'm a little unhappy with the few that we do have. Possibly, you're right on that, Dick, that there aren't that many people looking for a job that demanding with that little pay.
We also have a probationary period.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, you know, Matt has worked very hard here. And I would just like to see a larger sampling. I would like to, last time we did this, we had 60 people apply for the job. This time we have 3. So that's my only concern with
They
this.
never posted it.
That's my concern with this.
Wasn't publicized.
I have something.
posted.
We could advertise for free, monster.com. You know, we don't have to, as long as we don't legally have to advertise, then we don't legally have to advertise in the newspaper where it costs more. I felt that one of the applicants, what they said, because I actually don't think that we are offering a real low pay. There's a lot of school teachers that work a lot, long hours and are hard workers, and they get paid less than this position.
The average city manager, town administrator makes over $100,000 base salary in this state.
But we know that this is the town of Malabar, and it doesn't have as many things to do as other cities. It's a lot smaller than Palm Bay. Well, Palm Bay has a lot more people, excuse me, Palm Bay has a lot less employees and a lot less, Palm Bay has a lot more employees and a lot more to govern. And the town administrator in Malabar has a much smaller area to deal with. And I like the way that with a position, it would depend on the size and scope of responsibilities required. Malabar is a smaller town, has a lot smaller infrastructure. Understandably, in a larger city, the responsibilities are much greater, whereas in a smaller municipality, although equally as important, there are fewer departments and employees to manage. In a town such as Malabar, for example, I would be willing to start at a salary the town could afford with the hopes of gaining the experience and institutional knowledge to perhaps have upward mobility in the future. I think that Matt has been preparing to be, I'm actually impressed very much with his QuickBooks and putting the numbers in exactly the way that they should be done. And we gave him a 10% raise last year, and he's been being trained to be a town clerk. And I think that that's where his training lies, and that's where he should be. I would like to see a town administrator that could really fight for us for what happened with the 95 Weber area, the water area, that somebody that is kind of a bulldog that could help take care of the problems that we have. Somebody that when we get a piece of brand new equipment in, can make sure that somebody's on that piece of equipment right away. I would like to see Felix, which is totally off subject, but him training other public workers. I think he would excel at that. He's good at what he's doing. He should be training. But I just really would like to put this out more to a greater.
I just got one comment first. All right, well, first of all, I've been looking since January, and I talked to, my goal was, I thought, an assistant city manager from an existing town, which was brought up at Malabar, the mayor's lunches that we had, would be the perfect person. And I talked to 4 of them, and only all 4 of them said no, because they made more than Doug does. So, as an assistant city manager, so I thought it would be a great opportunity for an assistant city manager to come to Malabar. So, and the one lady is official that Doug talked to that denied.
She was being paid over.
Yeah, she was being paid.
But what about all of your citizens? Just putting it out publicly.
No, I'm just giving you assistant city managers. That's all I'm doing. But you've already talked, so I'm good.
I just want to kind of debate what you said. You were not giving Matt high quality for moving into an administration role where he has people to administer. That's what he does in the Army. So, and I know I've been there. That job, administration-wise, is far more demanding than the one he's moving in right now. I just want to clarify that. If you've never been in the military and you've never been in a leadership role, you don't realize what it's like. I'll say it the easiest way. When you get into an administrative role at his level, they tell you, in my case, hey chief, you're no longer using the tools that are in your toolbox, you're using these people. And they give you X amount of people. And you've got to figure out how to do the job regardless of how good or bad those people are. That's your job to get that job done. And boy, do they hold you accountable. So the biggest thing that I've got going is, he's been here, he's worked hard, he's working on his advanced degree, and I know he's got leadership qualities. Now, we may have not seen them because he's been in the back room. I am going to miss him in that room because I think he did a wonderful job there. And that's the vacuum that I really see. As we move him to there, we created a vacuum back here again that he really bolstered up in the time. So,
Go ahead,
I
back
go
to
Danny next. Danny next.
Thank you. First off, go Navy, I'm sorry. Okay. I had a couple of residents come over to our house this afternoon to discuss this very thing. Brought up the same concern you just voiced, Holly, okay? And I understand that, I do. But I also see exactly what you see in that. I've seen it. There are other concerns, which it was a great concern. I love it. It was that he's done such a great job where he's at. What are we going to do when he moves to town administrator, okay? I think that's a problem I'm glad to deal with, all right? One suggestion was, well, why do this now? We can let Debbie be the temporary town administrator. She's done that before. I don't think I want to do that to Debbie, okay?
Not fair to her.
All right. I'm all for choosing Matt to take this appointment. I would commit to a 6-month review, okay? Not just to ask questions, but have Matt come before us and justify our decision. I think it's not a hard thing to do at all. He does an outstanding job. I expect that he'll do even a better job as town administrator, no, just like you do. Okay. but he and I have had quite a few discussions about our pet peeve, town administration, and how they deal with public works. Okay? I want to see a lot more aggressive action there. I think we all do. Okay? And I didn't mean to go too far there. What I was talking about is our issues is making town, the public works more productive. We have a plan, but I want to see how we're going to implement it incrementally. What we're going to do next year, how we're going to do it, what quarter, here, there. And then let's look back and see the production. And if we don't, then let's take issue with it, let's do something. Okay? But, yeah, my vote is for that.
Go ahead.
My main concern is anytime I sit up here, is that we all receive accurate information. We get the feeling that Malabar is a small town. However, it is, given the 412 municipalities in Florida, there were 413, but one of them unmunicipal, or whatever the right word is, unincorporated, and we are the median size. There are just about the same number of towns that have a higher population and land area, and those who have a lower occupation and land area. We're right about in the middle. As far as being a small town at large, there are an awful lot of small towns. I would say this is a small town, but it's not the only small town in Florida. The point is, this town needs to become a team where we work together. When I first moved here in 1987, my wife had been here since 1970. I married the town, so to speak. The whole town worked together and was a team. And now it is totally fractionalized, and we've got to undo that. We've got to become a team again. And part of that starts right here in this building with the staff working together. And I think we've got a staff here that has worked together and has been a team. So for that reason, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. I would call for the question.
Can I say one more thing? I think that getting a real teamwork is including and not working against the citizens. Excuse me? The citizens, the selection committee that
That's not
went
by law.
through,
By law, we make that choice.
we do make the choice, but listening to the citizens is very important, and keeping the citizens included is very important, and name calling them cave people is not a good idea. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question or
Go
comment?
ahead.
In the agenda, there's a draft contract. Is that the
I
contract?
have that next.
Oh, okay,
I want to get his name first.
okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure the motion wasn't to approve the contract.
No,
Okay.
just to approve.
Gotcha.
Okay, Councilmember Ball,
Aye.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Nay.
Councilmember Rivet,
Aye.
Councilmember Corn,
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-1.
All right, what we need now is to make a motion to move forward with the agreement. And the agreement was in packet.
I'll move to accept the,
Taking the cave names out of here.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Warren had referenced a probationary period earlier in this discussion. That's been crossed out.
Has that crossed out?
It is crossed out, and I think it was basically carryover from Doug's. And then Mr. White said, given a 6-month review period, and let me kind of explain why they both can work. The 90-day probation period allows you to terminate with or without cause. Okay? If it goes beyond that and you're going to do the 6-month review and you terminate with cause, there's no severance. If you terminate without cause, you owe him severance on the contract. So with that in mind, we would need to incorporate those things into this agreement, just so it's covered, and assuming Matt agrees to it.
Okay. May I comment on because you began by putting me in. I thought it was still in here, but I missed the line out. But anytime we have a meeting, we can always discuss the performance of any one of our employees.
No doubt.
So why don't we just leave it at that?
The only difference, what I'm saying is that during the first 90 days, if it was a termination, there's with or without cause, no severance. After that, you have the absolute right to review and do whatever you want with any employee under your control. The difference is that with cause, no severance. Without cause, you get severance. That's all I'm saying. So it doesn't matter to me. As long, but if you want that probationary language in there, it better be in there. Because if it's not, then he is a regular full-time employee the day he signs it, and you terminate him without cause, you're gonna owe severance. Severance is mandated by state law, and we're only allowed to provide up to 2 months of severance. And that's what this contract has, 2 months. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, the other part is the salary. Is that a separate issue?
I don't know what's been talked about, the salary.
The 55 is what was in there.
But is it in the agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The salary's gonna be
I yelled at it myself.
So we're going to start him off at 55?
Whatever's in there.
But that's what's offered, and that's what he accepts, and that's what it will be. It's in there, salaries in
Well, then you're-
3.01,
So
3.01.
So are we putting in those two caveats?
We can,
I would like to say this, that obviously this is a negotiated thing, Matt would have to agree to this, okay?
yes, too.
I personally think that it would never even be an issue. I'm more than happy with including the probationary period and the 6-month review. If I thought it was going to be an issue, he wouldn't have my support, okay? So if that is, and he doesn't have to answer it now, I guess, but if that's an agreement with him, then, you know, we're just deciding our side of it, right? So I would vote to include that, I would make a motion that we include that in the contract.
Well, okay. Let me see what's my motion. Yeah, I'll amend my motion to
So is
we need the agreement at the second.
I didn't second.
Well, I'll second, you said you made a motion, I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, is the agreement with, is Debbie in charge of this, or are you?
I'll send it to Carl to make those two
Okay,
provisions.
you just review it?
Yes, sir.
Take the lines up. All right, any other discussion?
I have a question. So how much is the total package of benefits and everything? How much it's costing? He's 55,000, but how much?
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget. There's no,
It's every line in the budget.
yeah, anything under 512 that doesn't say, doesn't reference the one that's not accepting benefits.
Because we were going, okay.
He's a full-time
He's a
employee
full-time
now.
employee now
So
that
he's getting
gets
that anyway.
FRS and
It's
gets
gonna roll over.
insurance.
Just
But he
post
has,
one provision to another.
So then we're basically losing his salary as the clerk and making it 55,000 with all the benefits. Okay.
What's the salary right now?
Thank you. He's already motioned.
What's
I
the
trust
salary
him.
right now?
I don't know.
What's your
Something like
salary?
that.
About 38,000.
So we're just adding another, how many $1,000 to get to 55, but
It's a
also losing that 37.
17,000.
Yeah.
It's still in the budget.
It just comes out of a different fund.
I understand.
Qualified replacements to step in the next position, because quite frankly, Debbie is overloaded at this point and needs some additional people. And that also presents an opportunity for people to move up within the organization at some point in the future. So we win in that regard.
advancement path. That is very concrete evidence that there is an advancement path.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Matt, do you accept?
Is there any other administrative thing we need to do?
Are you sure, Matt? Are you think about this?
Yes.
I don't know if that's enough time.
Is there any other administrative thing we need to do at this time? Can we wait? We got the person and we got the contract.
We're just gonna basically put a final form, and it'll have to come back for a final blessing unless you authorize the whomever to sign that on behalf of the town at this point with those two changes, but maybe he has other changes, I don't know, but I still
All right,
think.
we'll bring it back one more time.
Yeah, say something.
I was just gonna say, he's already reviewed the contract, and, I mean, it's essentially the same thing that we presented for Doug, with the benefits, not deleted. And, you know, we can include the two provisions, and it can be approved tonight.
If the council is limiting us to those two changes and authorizes the contract executed with those changes, then we can do that.
Well, that was the intent of my
Okay.
motion.
Okay, all right, we're good.
Good, that's what
All
we're
right,
doing. Just
excuse,
good.
you earn your money this week.
Okay, all right.
All right, we'll move on to, move on to reports, no public comment. So, Laura, yeah, report.
Now we can get into it.
So,
Stay well.
I'd like to thank the public for your efforts and involvement. It takes effort and planning to come out to these meetings. It takes time and expense to record these meetings and or view them or listen to the audio recordings. I have learned so much from each individual who has taken the time and effort to review and share their personal experiences and possible solutions. I encourage each of you to continue voicing your opinions and reaching out to council and participating in our community. The Malabar Community Association was greatly encouraged to see so many Malabar residents stop by their booths at the Friday Fest on US 1, September 7th. And the consensus was it was a success and encouraged community, so we'll be participating every first Friday of the month. Saturday evening's event hosted by Liz Ritter representing the MCA was a lot of fun, and people mingled in and out as a live music jam along with trained dominoes was played throughout the evening. I was especially impressed by Andy's meat-filled masa wraps. So thank you.
Steve?
Okay, first, I'd like to say good work on the road repairs that were done. I drove over 2 of them today, huge difference. We're starting to dry out, hopefully starting to get into our dry season. We've got equipment stocked, delivered, running, not broken.
Right, so there's no other excuses.
There's no excuses to get the drainage
And
progress.
we need to move on with this.
So I'm excited about that. I think we're finally poised to actually make a test. We've made tests before, make some significant progress.
I think the equipment we have will allow us to move along much faster than in the past with what we've had to work with.
So you're leaving your replacement with no possible excuses?
Absolutely not.
Grant?
I want to say thanks to Doug and for being our town administrator. I think he's worked tirelessly at the job. Every time I've come in here, he's taken me in the direction that I've asked. So I've always had good answers, and he's helped me with problems. One thing I would like to push forward through, though, and I'd like to have it on the agenda, I would like to set up a public works workshop, getting back to Laura's accountability thing. I have the vision, now I'm talking to somebody that's been military, of this whiteboard about the side of that with a bar graph on it that says, okay, we said we were going to do culverts Works, we said we were gonna do this, and this is where we are in that line. And I think the only way we're gonna do that is for the council to get together in a workshop and discuss how we can put this together. I'm sure there's other ideas than just my whiteboard idea, but I would love to see that happen, and that would maybe help the town administrator, and it would take some of the heat off of them with people coming back and saying, hey, why didn't you get this done? Well, it's right here, and this is where it is, and yeah, it's in the red, but it's only in the red by 2 weeks. We'll try to get it up into the yellow in the next coming week, and then into the green by the end of the month. So I would like to see.
I agree.
Do you want this workshop before or after we've decided to hire a few more people?
I don't think the amount of personnel we have has anything to do with the list of projects that we deem are important. And about the only thing it's gonna do is we're gonna say it makes sense to get this done in the next period of time. Well, if we don't have employees, then it's in the red because we didn't have employees to do it. But I think the workshop needs to be forward so we can set forward for this upcoming year the goals that we need to accomplish by the town.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I agree with everything Grant just said about, I'm sorry.
Okay, the other reason I had my hand up is because I agree with Grant. I think a workshop meeting with the council would be extremely beneficial to, let's say, if nothing else, motivate public works and know that everybody's trying to work towards the same goals. As far as the amount of employees, that certainly has a big impact on what we get done. But as was previously mentioned, we can't use the excuse of not having proper equipment or the equipment's broken. So now a 2-day job with 4 people might be a 4-day job with 2 people, but at least everybody needs to be on the same page and the same goals. And while we do have some goals with stormwater, and we're doing some things on those, I still think a group effort is much better, and I would support that very strongly. Workshop.
I had the pleasure of reading some minutes from 2002 road workshop the other day that I was given. And it was interesting, Barry was mentioning those minutes. I thought, wow, he's been here a long time, you know. And, but it was sad and also comical almost that the issues were exactly the same that we have today, you know. And in 2002, I believe, were pretty good economic times. It was before the recession, you know. And so I don't think money was an issue. It was still what we need, just like we've talked about, a workshop where we sit together and say, okay, this is what we want to do next year, and this is what we're going to do the first quarter and second quarter, and this is how we're going to do it, you know, and get those things put in action, you know, instead of just, I don't know, pie in the sky hope that we're going. I mean, I've seen a master plan, years old, and very little of it has been accomplished for whatever reason. I don't want to point the finger at anybody. I just want to get things moving, you know. And I think that we can get that done. We've got people in this town, Mary's one of them, that has offered some help, okay, in structure and scheduling. We've got people in this town who have made a career out of business and administration and can help with some ideas on how to get things done that we maybe have not addressed, you know. So anyway, I'm pleased to be here and trying to be a part of the solution. I think everybody is. I thank everybody for showing up. It was funny when somebody asked, is this your first meeting? And everybody in this front row is here every week. I mean, you know, I know other people can't make it every week and all the time, but it's good that we have a full house tonight. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Not much, other than to say things have dried up a bit, thank the Lord. And we can get a good view of, again, what needs to be done in our infrastructure, primarily the ditches, but when we get a full complement of workers in public works, we also need to make sure that the roads are properly tended to, not dug down in, but properly surfaced and smoothed over. I know when I first moved here, if it was a road, it had pavement. If it was a lane, it was dirt. And that's just the way it was in Malabar at that time. And there was a lot more attention paid to the maintenance of the dirt roads. And we need to make sure that whoever we hire knows how to not dig it down. Like we've had a couple of people come in, I think that Sandy Lane was one, where the sides were higher than the road became a bowl of water. We need to be sure that doesn't happen, but that the potholes and all also are corrected, even in the dirt road. But other than that, we're in good shape to move ahead, because a lot of the problems we had a month ago have dried out.
30 seconds, I'll make it real quick, because I got sidetracked on the Public Works workshop. I need to apologize to Brian, because I was going to invite everybody that lived on an unpaved lane to go visit his road. And then after hearing what Doug said, I said, well, maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. No, my wife and I going down there this morning, and I didn't do a burnout, okay? But anyway, it's beautiful, and I would like, matter of fact, I'm meeting with some residents on Hunter Lane tomorrow that are interested in doing the same thing. And I would ask anybody, you know, just to drive down that lane and think about what paving would do for two things: your property value and the quality of the life that you
Just
live
in the
in.
house.
And that's it. Okay.
All right, every Sunday night, I usually drive around town and look around to see how things are. I've been impressed the last 4 months or so about all the town improvements. I'd like to thank Doug and town staff for that. And the park, I use it about every other weekend, and you know, it's still in decent shape, so I'm waiting for the Huggins sign to go up. So thank Dick for that. And I'd like to welcome Matt to a higher position in town. I appreciate your time. Go ahead.
Mentioning the Huggins sign reminds me of something I thought of earlier today when I saw somebody had a car for sale down in the Ashtonburg Park. Is that your car?
Oh, I took care of it. They moved it.
But anyhow, what have we done? I mean, Tom Ashtonburg died in office. He was a many-term council person from the district I represent now. And he was honored with that park there just on Weber Road. And we have done something for Carl Beatty, but what have we done as a memorial to another mayor who died in office?
It's, I thought we were
Wall.
yeah, the wall.
What law?
The wall at the fire.
I thought we were going to do something with the Public Works Complex, name the building or the complex for him. That was a motion I made one year.
It definitely got passed to do that. And then we wanted to
Carl's
expand.
whole adult life was centered around this town.
Debbie, check that, I'm pretty positive that's right.
Okay. I just
Okay,
wanted
the
to-
last thing I have is I'd like to congratulate Malabar being a trail town.
All right.
Trail and Greenways Committee. Especially Drew Thompson and Murray Hahn and the volunteers and committee worked very hard, and we held a reception here. There's a sign is above the glass there, and so anyway, I think that's going to open up a lot of doors to town of Malabar. Cool. That's it. So without objection, meeting adjourned.
Right, sure.